like really kind of hurry up and do this because like my my studio is just like downtown. It's probably like 5 minutes away.
Yeah.
But I had to go down and get all my stuff and do it here because like everyone was, getting crazy about the virus and stuff. And I was like, yeah, I don't want to be trapped in a room with people.
I know this whole shelter in place thing. It's getting pretty serious.
Dude, it's nuts, man. I don't even really know like what like the restrictions are in like California and stuff.
Yeah, California.
Like, what's the shelter in place thing?
Well, also they've not what. Well, I'll explain what we're doing here, and then you can fill me in on what you guys are doing there. Then, because here, the governor pretty much issued, like, it started out with each individual county was kind of just taking preemptive action and saying, okay, well, we're just gonna advise people to go ahead and stay in place. And it started with the same kind of pattern in different counties. So it started with, if you're of this age and older, like the senior citizen group, go ahead and stay home and don't travel. And then they started, I think the next step was they canceled school. And then after that, it was like, okay, well, everybody in this county go ahead and stay home or shelter in place. It's advised. Now you can still go to the grocery store. You can still go out and do other things if you need medications and things. It's not like you have to stay home. And then because each individual county was doing it, the governor of California just said straight up, everybody, the entire state, go ahead and shelter in place. So this has affected like a lot of jobs out here. A lot of people are wondering if their job is like essential so that they can keep working. And that's pretty much it. It's an advisory. It's not like anybody's being forced to. I don't think anyone's getting fined for not being indoors. But
Right.
there are definitely people like on social media who are like, oh, I'm out hiking or I'm out at the beach. And it's kind of counterintuitive.
Yeah. Dude, like here, the whole stay at home order just kind of happened like last week.
Yeah.
And so like businesses are definitely closed here. There's a lot of people doing like deliveries and curbside pickup and like all of that.
Yeah.
But most businesses are closed. Like my video business, like, dude, I had like 6 shoots canceled this month. It was terrible.
Dude.
It was just like one by one. And then once it got serious, I was like, oh, okay, well, cool. Like, whatever. But like, it was kind of before everything was like stay at home.
Yeah.
And then like, they were just like picking off one by one. And I was like, damn it. And then, yeah, so the stay at home order like came into effect like last week. And then, we are still allowed to go hiking and things like that.
Yeah.
Like take walks and stuff, but they're telling us like stay 6 feet away from people, all of this stuff. And then yesterday they told us we had to wear masks to go outside.
Really?
Yeah.
See, we're not at that level yet.
Yeah. It's pretty crazy. I don't know if it's because we're close to New York. But yeah, it was really wild. And so I got that information on Facebook. I watched our governor came on and told us that that's what had to happen. So like I had some masks that I had like preemptively ordered.
Yeah.
And was just holding on to them. And so I put one on, and me and my wife, we each put one on, and then we went and took a walk. And like all these people were walking past us, like looking at us like, what the hell is wrong with them? And they kept on like, they weren't coming anywhere near us. And I was like, man, I kind of like this. Nobody's coming anywhere near me. So,
and you see, good. I'm not sure how like the social community is over there in Pittsburgh, but at least here in California, like people tend to keep their distance. I've heard like people here in this area can be a little bit more friendly, like when you run into somebody who's a stranger and just saying hello and things like that and passing by. But it is like that completely, like everybody's trying to avoid one another. I mean, you make eye contact and it's like, okay, we both know we're trying to stay away from each other, or they're avoiding going down certain aisles in the store.
Oh yeah, that's happening here for sure. I mean, like typically East Coasters are like, we're assholes anyway. So it's just like, you really don't typically talk too much to people. But like, the Pittsburgh's actually kind of friendly. I mean, you will have people going out of their way just to like make little conversations with people. But yesterday I went to the grocery store to get some stuff for the weekend, and there were some folks that just were like, if they saw like one person in an aisle, an entire aisle, they were like stopping and turning around and going somewhere else. And I was starting to do the same because I just like, I could hear people like sneezing and coughing, and I'm like, I got to get the hell out of here.
Yeah.
I'm like, so I just like grabbed what I could and, grabbed some pasta, grabbed some sauce, and got the hell out of there.
Now you mentioned videography taking a hit, and I have a couple photography buddies who, I mean, I stopped kind of ramping back my photography thing as I started getting more into like podcasting, but I have one wedding this year that I have on the books, and I'm not sure if I'll need to cancel that or if they're going to cancel. And a couple of my photography friends they've had weddings that they've had to push out or just straight up cancel altogether.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that's happening. Like I said, like, so I had like 6 shoots cancel. Mine are all like corporate gigs, commercial gigs.
Yeah.
I do have a ton of friends that are in the wedding business, and their weddings are getting pushed back. It's really wild because, there were some emails and stuff, and I don't know where they originated. I don't know if they were in our area, but a lot of my friends were sharing them.
Yeah.
Brides sending emails to like the guests and saying like, do not skip my wedding. We are having my wedding still, blah, blah, blah. Like, if you skip my wedding, I will never speak to you again type of shit.
Wow.
It's like, man, come on. But as it got more and more serious, then I noticed that, a couple of my buddies, and I'm friends with some DJs too.
Oh,
geez. And they were saying they were having some problems with their bookings. And I mean, it's got to be pretty obvious now. I mean, I hate to like be a downer, but a friend of mine, his grandmother passed away like a few days ago, and they couldn't have a funeral.
Gosh,
that's how serious it is out here. Like, they are telling people, let's do something for the person after this is all done.
Yeah.
And, it's pretty intense.
Yeah. I heard a story of someone having to like stream the services. And this was before, before things were really getting serious. It was like, okay, well, they're just going to try to social distance. So I don't know if the mortuary or the funeral home, they were allowing just the immediate family to be there, and then they set up a camera to just kind of stream it for the rest of the family.
Yeah.
I think go ahead.
I was going to say, I think maybe that's what ended up happening. I think the family ended up like really kind of getting upset, not like mad, but very like sad. And I think they figured out something for there to be under 10 people there.
Yeah.
And it was pretty wild.
Just talking about streaming, the video app, I don't know if you've heard of that, Zoom. It seems like everybody's on that now.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. I was going to try to conduct my podcasts via Zoom.
Yeah.
And I don't know what it is. It seems like everybody in the world has a better internet connection than I do. Like,
I think we're in the same boat.
Dude, it's so crazy. Like, I know for a fact, like, I'm in the middle of like a small city.
Yeah.
And I have like the fastest internet that Verizon or whoever I get it from, Comcast or whatever.
Yeah.
I have the fastest internet that you can get from them. And for some reason, it will not support a DSLR for webcam on Skype or any other program. And Zoom definitely wasn't having it. It was like, it like shut down my whole computer.
Oh, geez. That's one of the bum deals. Like, whenever I'm in Discord with a buddy of mine at work, and it cuts out, and he's like, we come to find out it's whenever my wife uses the microwave, my internet just takes a dump. And so,
oh man,
So like I let her know I'm doing a podcast right now. Can you refrain from, warming up anything this morning?
Right. Oh my gosh, that's hysterical.
So
Yeah,
then
it's weird. I don't know.
I wanted to talk because for one, yeah, we clearly don't know each other because I found you through social media, through Instagram
Right,
and
yeah.
everything like that. But one of the things that I did want to talk to you about, because I'm super interested and I've had pretty much no one to talk to about this, is I wanted to talk shop because we both have Roadcaster Pros. We both are doing the podcast thing. I was trying to do it with guests as like before this whole virus thing hit. So I've had a couple over, but I really wanted to talk to you about like what got you into this and like just the evolution of your setup, because it's really nice.
Oh, thanks, man. Yeah, so I mean, podcasting in general was like something that I guess I just didn't think that I would ever really do. I've always been into talk radio.
Yeah.
Since like the end of my high school days, I think I would like listen to like some Howard Stern on the way into school in the morning. And then when I was in college, I switched over and started listening to some other guys in New York, Opie and Anthony, and just kind of like got real into talk radio. And they were having comedians in all the time. They were on XM. And so that's where I kind of got introduced to, Bob Kelly and Jim Norton and Joe Rogan and like all these guys. And so I really got heavy into comedy, and because I was like listening to these dudes for like 4 hours a day. And then that just kind of, as things progressed and people started like getting these things called podcasts, I was like, oh man, what is this? So I started listening to, I think the first one I started listening to was the Mark Maron podcast. And then, obviously went into Joe Rogan. And so I was just kind of like sitting around the last, like maybe a year and a half ago at this point. And I told my wife, I was like, I should do a local podcast, like something for the community here.
Yeah.
Because I want to like spotlight local businesses and really kind of like my whole area is going through this like resurgence.
Oh, okay.
Where it's like our town for the longest time has just kind of been like this small little sleepy town out here in Pennsylvania. And for whatever reason, there was always this like old boys club that kind of ran the city, like the city council and stuff.
Yeah.
And they didn't want anything fun to happen here, like literally blocking food trucks from being in the city limits, all kinds of stuff, because they didn't want to take business away from brick and mortar and all of this stupid stuff. And, the young kids here, younger, we really couldn't understand that. So eventually it got to a point where we were just like, nah, this isn't going to happen anymore. And we literally just started making changes, and it started happening, and now everybody's on board. So that was kind of the idea to like, join in and get the podcast rolling. Truth be told, the reason that I got the podcast rolling in the first place was a marketing move on my part for the video business.
Yeah. Same here for the photography.
Right. So I wanted to find a way to network with local businesses. So I would have these people in and talk to them. They would hear about my video business. I would hear about their business. And obviously all of their friends and family that are going to come and listen to them be on a podcast are going to hear about my business as well.
Yeah.
So that started to happen, and that's kind of this whole local focus is why my podcast kind of grew very fast. I've only done 20 episodes ever in my entire life.
Oh, really?
And and it's wildly popular here.
How many like throwaway episodes do you have? Because for myself, I have like maybe 20 or almost 30 that were just like trial and error, because I I was learning. I had no idea how to edit or anything. And these episodes will never see the light of day because it's just like too cringeworthy.
Yeah. See, I kind of went, I jumped on the grenade. The first episode I did was the first episode I ever did.
Oh, nice. Okay.
So it was just like, I spent a lot of time, and you'll know this. Being a creative guy, you'll know this. I did everything in my power to talk myself out of doing this. I sat there and was like, as I was buying equipment and like, you know, this stuff's getting delivered to my house and I'm stocking it like up in my office.
Yeah.
And I'm finally like got to the point where I was like, okay, I have everything. Why am I doing this? Like, no one's going to come listen to me talk. Why? And my wife was just like, look, you already bought a studio space. You bought the equipment. Like you're deep. You're in deep right now. So you have to do this. And
I like that approach though. That's a pretty good approach. Cause for me, it's, I do have a lot of that self-doubt and I tiptoe into things. So like with photography, it was like I borrowed a DSLR at entry level and I just started taking pictures with it. And then I bought something a little nicer and then something even nicer than that till I was like, am I really going to do this? And the same thing with the podcast. I mean, I started with, I think it was, what was that? You know, the little, the Rosetta Stone where you learn like another language.
Oh yeah.
It comes with like a super janky like microphone attached to a headset, and it's a USB mic. I use that. That was my first. That was my first microphone. Until I learned it.
I mean, it just like, I am like the opposite of that. I get an idea and I go all in immediately, and then if, you know, I'm into it, then cool. I'm into it and I stick with it. And then there's some times where I'm all in on an idea and then I just see it not panning out the way that I expected. And then I'm just like, boom, I'm bailing and I'm out.
I like that though, because it's like the whole no risk, no reward kind of.
Yeah, I mean, I think I would probably have been way more nervous. I have a YouTube channel that I've been kind of curating for the last like 4 years. It's on YouTube, Jordan Hauser Digital. It's the same as my business name. And I go on there and I have camera tutorials, like how to shoot better B-roll or how to, you know, edit your audio to sound better in your videos or something like that. So it's always like a tutorial, like kind of like an educational lesson type of thing.
Yeah.
I was lucky enough to make a few videos that kind of got some notoriety from different people on YouTube and on the internet and stuff. And so I was making these videos very frequently, like 3 times a week. I would make some videos.
Oh, nice.
And so I grew that channel to like, I think somewhere around like 6,000 subscribers, I think. And it's, I think that's really what gave me the confidence to be in front of a camera, be in front of somebody that I'm interviewing or speaking into a mic, you know. I was always just kind of like, after that experience, I was kind of more comfortable just doing it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Some people have a hard time. Just like for anybody who is thinking about starting a podcast or anything like that. I mean, being in front of a camera, though it's not necessary, it helps to diversify, having a YouTube channel to coincide with an audio podcast. And for myself, it's just, I had worked for years in like customer service jobs. So speaking with the public and helping them. And then I got into blue collar work where I just work with the same group of guys. I don't get to meet anybody new. So I kind of had this like thirsting for conversation with strangers that I missed from customer service jobs. And so that segued into things like photography, where I would just meet somebody. But then as I had a family or have children, now my time being able to get out of the house is limited. So it's weird how these paths sort of just, we find these,
Yeah.
these ways to now I'm doing this. Like sometimes I look at my setup and it's like, wow, I really kind of got involved with this over time.
Yeah, dude. And it's awesome. I mean, like, you know, I never really expected, I mean, I kind of knew, just because of the plan that I had set in place, that it would be kind of popular.
Yeah.
Only because it was locally focused. I think that, you know, always in YouTube, that was always the big piece of advice from, like, you know, people who were, you know, big famous YouTubers. They would always say, like, you know, niche down, focus on one particular thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so that's what I wanted to do. I was just like, you know what? I want to have these people in face to face. I don't really, unless I have to, which now I have to because of the because of the virus. I have to do these things over the phone now.
Yeah.
And but I feel this, like you were saying, there's this connection with people that, like, you really get being face to face and, like, talking to people. And I knew that it was gonna at least drag in their family members and friends. I knew that. But then, you know, I didn't really think too much about, like, oh my God, these people are going to share this on Facebook. It's going to get huge. Like, one of my episodes, I think it was like maybe my 12th or 13th episode. I interviewed some girls here that opened a store, and they were so funny. They were all just, like, very outspoken, hilarious girls. Like, and that episode did, like, it's like, I think we're around 4,000 views on Facebook.
Oh, wow.
Like, it's crazy. It got shared, like, oh my God, like 50, 60 times. And it just, like, it continues to, like, pop up on my feed. And I'm like, who the hell's sharing this now? And it's, you know, it was like, it was a while ago. It was like a couple months ago.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I just feel like, you know, if we're talking shop, giving advice to, like, other people out there who want to do a podcast and stuff, it's just like, you know, kind of find your niche or however you want to say it, and just really focus on that, because you might feel like you're limiting yourself, but you're really not.
And I think it definitely has to be something that you are interested in talking about. Like, there are individuals who might see a YouTube channel and think, well, just speaking for myself, it's like, I like taking photos with a camera, but I really don't care to talk about photography. It's something that I enjoy, but do I want to teach somebody how to shoot manual? Do I want to talk about lenses? Do I want to talk about cameras? The honest answer is no, I don't. But just having random conversations with people, and, well, even the title of mine, a dad's podcast project, it was kind of just spearheaded towards, like, my journey as a father, a new father, and my experiences that I'm having with my kids. But the name is kind of more broad, that it doesn't necessarily have to be just that. It's like, it's a project that I'm doing. It's just something as a father that I'm creating. And I guess it allows me to just have these types of conversations with people.
Yeah, man. I think it's awesome. I mean, like, obviously being a dad, you know, that's something you're passionate about. That's something that you could talk about. And the fact that it is kind of open-ended like that, like, this is my project. This is what I'm doing.
Yeah.
You know, it allows you to talk to anybody about anything. I mean, like, you know, we're not sitting here talking about kids. I have some stepchildren and I love them very much, but, you know, I don't, you know, they're older kids and they're like 13 and almost 8. And, you know, it's not like we sit around and just talk about, like, kid stuff all the time. Like,
yeah,
you know, they're pretty old, you know, they're old souls too. I mean, like, they're super smart. They're very good at school. Everything is, you know, I feel like I'm talking to adults when I speak to them.
Yeah.
And it's so odd. I'm just like, what did you just say to me? Like, what word did you just use? And it's so crazy because like they're way into like science and math and reading and all this stuff. And I'm like, all right, I feel like an idiot speaking to you sometimes.
Oh man, that's so crazy. Like, how old were they when they came into your life?
So 5 years ago, the youngest was 3, and the oldest was, I think he was just turning 8.
Okay.
So yeah.
So you've definitely had a lot of time with them and growing and learning and all this stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. It's crazy. And it's real fun too, because like they know, what I do, and they're real kind of like curious about what I do and what I'm into. And like, they always are like, hey, can we make a YouTube video today or something like that? And we'll make, we'll make a YouTube video and put it on one of their channels. Or if it's like a B-roll lesson, we'll put it on my channel, but I'll use the kids in there. And I walked downstairs the one day and I heard my voice, and I like looked around the corner, and the kid's just like sitting on the couch, like sitting there staring at his phone, playing a game, and he was listening to the podcast. And I was like, this is like, it's awesome. It's just real to see them like kind of getting into, because their biological dad, we're very different. He is very blue collar. He owns his own business as well. He's a painter. Okay. And he paints, houses and businesses and all kinds of stuff. So they've got kind of the best of both worlds between the two of us. It's like, they've got this tech nerdy guy over here, and then they got like, their dad who's, a painter, hard worker, out there doing it.
Yeah.
Pretty cool.
Yeah, that's nice, man, having diversity like that. Not everybody kind of has that kind of experience. Sometimes you get these, nightmarish kind of it between like there's the dad and here's the second dad kind of thing. Yeah.
No, yeah, we've always been pretty close. I mean, like, obviously, there's been times here and there where like things were a little rocky, but for the most part, I mean, we've been pretty tight. Just a few weeks ago, we were, before all of this started, the two of us and the kids were outside at my house on the sidewalk skateboarding. Like, just like, oh yeah, I used to do this when I was younger. And it was like, yeah, me too. And like, just dicking around with the kids and stuff. It was cool.
Yeah, I like that. So to get back onto, because I still want to pick your brain.
Yeah, I don't know where the hell we went. Detour.
I know. I still want to pick your brain. What made you, because I went, like I had mentioned before, different route with different editing softwares, and then finally realizing if I wanted a better audio sound to my podcast, I needed to have an external recorder and a better microphone. So I went the route of purchasing a small Zoom H6. I figured my podcast might be mobile. I might be going to people. I didn't think I was going to be anchored in one spot. But then when I realized I'm going to be anchored, I went with the Rodecaster Pro, which came out at just the right time because it pretty much checked all the boxes that I needed. Phone,
right on,
conversations, computer connectability, multi-channels, all this stuff. So did you jump right into just the Rodecaster, or did you have like a different mixer journey?
So yeah, it was, like a year it took me to like really kind of acquire all the equipment, get the idea together, quit talking myself out of it, all of that stuff, like I said. And what had happened was I originally planned on being mobile, and I wanted to get, just a small recorder or a little board to take 2 mics, 2 stands, real simple. Yeah. I didn't want to do video. I was just going to do audio and go to these people's businesses. And then I started thinking about it, and I was like, well, there's really nothing environmentally that I can control in these places. Yeah. I'd hate to be the guy it's interviewing, a coffee shop owner, and, there's somebody in there being loud, and then they can visually see me getting frustrated. And I don't want to be that guy, because I definitely am that guy. I don't have a poker face. If I'm flustered or frustrated, like, you can see it immediately. So I was like, okay, I have to control the environment around me. And I was talking to a buddy of mine. I was actually doing headshots for him for his LinkedIn profile. And he had said, hey, did you ever check out the Westmoreland Cultural Trust? And I was like, well, I don't even know what that is. And he was like, honestly, it's right across the street from, this coffee shop that I always go to. And I was like, oh, cool. So I went over there and I got some information, and I said, I hear that you guys have space, incubator spaces, like, for artists. And they were like, yeah. And I was like, that's really cool. I said, what are, like, what boxes do I have to check to be approved for this? And they were just like, well, if you're creating something, or, we're wide open to it. We have ceramic artists, we have painters, we have art therapists, we have, like, all kinds of people. And I was like, oh, well, I do a podcast. Or, well, at that time I was like, I'm going to do a podcast.
You're pitching the idea.
And they were like, right. Yeah. And they were like, okay, yeah, that's awesome. And I told them a little bit about the idea, how I was going to, like, focus on local people, local artists, local businesses. And they were very into the idea immediately. So they took me around, saw some spaces, and the spaces were absolutely the most affordable thing on the entire planet. And I was like, what? And they were just like, yeah, this is how much this costs a month. And I was like, I would be an idiot not to do this. Like, even if the podcast doesn't work out, I'm keeping my space.
Yeah.
I do something in that space. Even if it was like, if I had to do consultations, I could just set a desk and do consults in there, for clients, for video or photo or whatever.
Yeah.
And so I was like, all right, cool. Am I allowed to paint? Am I allowed to make it my own? And they were like, you can do anything you want in this room. And I was like, excellent. So I painted it and put up, my little fake palette wall thing, and got a table donated to me from my wife's company. They're amazing people. And then picked up the Rodecaster Pro. And that was because I was like, you know what? I'm not going to be mobile. I really want this thing to do a lot of stuff. And what dragged me to the Rodecaster Pro was the fact that it accepted XLR mics. It had all the headphone jacks immediately integrated into it.
Yeah.
It recorded to a micro SD card. I didn't have to worry about, like, getting a computer involved or anything like that. The little sound pads.
Oh, those are, yeah.
Those
intro
are fun.
music.
I don't use them normally when I'm, like, in the studio doing it. I do everything in post. I add the music in post.
Okay.
But now, doing the podcast from home, I'm trying to really do these more fast and just, like, pump out an episode, get it up. And because I think it's, like, it's acceptable right now, because like, I have this certain level of quality that I want for my in-studio podcast. But, I kind of started like, oh, hey, I can relax a little bit on this because I'm doing this from home. Everybody knows I'm trying really hard. And so, I fade in my music, I fade it out, all of that stuff. I've got Michael Scott on there doing that's what she said, just in case somebody says something funny. It's just like, it's a really awesome piece of gear. And the fact that it takes phone calls is unbelievable, because if I end up switching to a live format at some point, I can just flash up there, like, maybe use like Ecamm Live or something like that to go out to Facebook or YouTube and just say, like, you could put up a little ticker at the bottom that says, like, live call in, boom, and you just get yourself like a Google phone number, and they can call in, and you can take calls.
Oh, dude, that would be awesome. One of the
Yeah,
things that I've had an issue with. Oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say you can do anything with this thing. It's wild.
Yeah, the only thing I've had an issue with my Rodecaster Pro is the audio syncing issues when it comes to like live streaming. So, for example, we're live on YouTube, and the audio, I already know it's not going to sync up because I'm on a phone call. So the audio takes the phone call as a priority, and then secondary will pipe the audio to the computer. And I've tried certain things like adjusting latency and adjusting all this other stuff. Spent like hours trying to figure it out. And it's just like, I feel like it's just the nature of the beast. This is what it is, unless I go a different route with, like the brand Black Magic, I think it is. They make like broadcasting, like prosumer level broadcasting components. So unless I went that way, this is kind of like what I can do with this one piece of kit. And it's amazing everything that it does do, just like you said, with phone calls, having audio go directly into the computer. Like if it's just me or if it's a local podcast and people are using the microphones in studio, there is no latency. I can have the camera on them just fine. It's like as soon as I introduce the phone, things get a little wonky.
Yep. Dude, I'm going through the same thing. I mean, like last night I was watching CNN, and they had a Skype interview, and I can't tell you, I was sitting there cooking dinner, and I was like, side-eyeing the TV, just kind of like looking at it. And my wife was like, "You're like very focused on this story." And I'm like, "No, I'm not. I'm not even listening to what this lady's saying. I am looking at the fact that there is no delay on this lady, and it says right up in the corner via Skype." And it made me so mad. I was just like, why? Like, what are they doing that is like making this so crystal clear and beautiful Skype interview? And how can I do it? It's definitely a, like a thing where you just kind of, you grow all the time. I just got this Cam Link.
Okay.
Whenever this thing started, Cam Link 4K thing. It's like a little USB drive.
Oh yeah, I've got one of those.
Yeah, you plug a DSLR into it, and then you can use it as your webcam, and it looks sick. It looks amazing. But if you try to use that with Skype, like before you called me, I tried to hook up my DSLR camera because I didn't know if we were doing video or not.
Yeah.
Picture looked great. But before you even called me, it just like literally was shutting down my computer. And I'm like, man. And, my computer's really not that old. It's like a, pretty new MacBook Pro.
Yeah.
And it just, so I don't know if it's, I need a more powerful computer or something like that. But yeah, it's wild.
Well, to be honest with you, because we're both brethren in the Mac world, I also use a Mac. I think that the truth is that it's because it's a Mac, that's why it doesn't work. A lot of the things that I find that I would like to do, especially with incorporating the Cam Link, or right now my Cam Link is sort of out of commission, so I'm using an Elgato, which is pretty much for the gaming, like connecting a console to. The Mac is limited with OBS for like capturing video, and with Skype, and I think it's Discord. A lot of these services, they're tailored for Windows OS. So
yeah,
everything that you want to do and that you should be able to do and that you actually can do, you can do it on a Windows computer, but you can't really do it on a Mac. It's super limited.
Oh man.
Yeah, it's a raw deal.
What a bummer. Oh well.
Yeah, I actually tried the same thing, using my DSLR as a webcam with Skype, and it was like, nope. And this one,
Love that.
I mean, I bought it for video editing and photo editing. It's the desktop Mac, and it doesn't do it.
Yeah, that's so crazy. Because I have the this morning while I was getting set up for this, I was like, as soon as we're done, I'm going to try and switch everything over to my other Mac. I have a big tower, like the old big tower Mac that I got rebuilt.
Those are those
like,
G5s
heavy,
or
yeah, like heavy editing and stuff like that. Like this thing's a beast. I had like one of my friends build this thing for me. It's got like a 12-core processor. Like it's just nuts. It's huge. And I was like, I'm gonna try on there. It'll probably be the same thing. I should probably just like go out and get like some crappy Windows like desktop for like $400 and
yeah, and that's actually all you need. Like my wife, she has a Windows laptop for school, and because apparently online schooling the online class she was taking required like some Windows thing, so we had to buy a Windows computer just for that. And I mean, my buddy was telling me, oh, you can just use Boot Camp. And it's like, I don't want Windows on my Mac. Like, I bought a Mac for Mac.
Right.
Like,
exactly. Yeah, dude. I'm the same way. I'm like, no way. Not doing it.
Yeah. I don't want to turn on my computer and it be Windows. So we went and we bought one of those. And just to see, is it really just a Windows computer that is going to work? I plugged in my Cam Link. I plugged in my Elgato. And I had 2 cameras set up. One I use the Elgato with a game console so I can stream gameplay, and then my DSLR with the Cam Link for video, and it works seamlessly.
Oh my gosh.
And because it's streaming, it doesn't need all of the processing power that you would need for like everything else, like an actual gaming computer. All the gaming was being done on the console, and it's just accepting the input from the video and then streaming that out. So it's like a Windows thing. Like Windows has more, they made this stuff like for Windows, and then it's like, okay, well, let's do some things for Mac too, because I'm sure people with Macs want to use this stuff too.
Man, that's awesome. Yeah, as soon as we're done, I'm gonna start looking for a little cheap Windows computer just to run this setup, because I don't know exactly how long we're gonna be stuck in the house doing living like this, and I want to get back to it, and I need to see people. Like I work from home and all the time, and now that I'm stuck at home in the nighttime, it's like, man, is it like killing me? My wife, she has an essential job. Part of that is good, and then the other half of me is like, I don't want my wife to get sick. But she's going to an office where there's just like very minimal people. We know everybody. It's a small business, so we're happy about that.
Yeah.
But it's just like she at least gets to get out of the house, and I am just like here all of the time, and I'm like, man, this is crazy. So this podcast is really kind of my outlet to like see people and talk to people, and I definitely need to be able to see them without my computer just kicking the bucket.
Yeah, and definitely being able to incorporate your DSLR, because once you go DSLR as like a source for video, you can never go back. There is no webcam. I don't care how much they want to market that it can give you that bokeh in the background and have crystal clear clarity. There's nothing like changing a lens out to get in the exact focal length you want, and you just like the what is it, like the color technology that comes with Canon versus a Nikon, and the video image is just so different with a DSLR.
Oh yeah, it's amazing. I mean, like when we first started talking this morning here on Skype, it was I was on an actual webcam, like a Logitech 930 or something like that.
Yeah,
and so that's what you saw, and I absolutely I thought that was like one of the best pictures ever in the world. When I first got that webcam, I was like, oh my God, this thing's so clear. And then I got this Cam Link and I was like, oh my God, that thing is dog shit. Sorry. If you don't swear on your podcast, I'm sorry.
No, that's fine.
Keep that out. But yeah, I really ruined everything for myself when I got that Cam Link because I was like, okay, nothing compares to this. And, you know, it was so crazy because, like, you know, now that I'm thinking about people using this stuff, you know, there are these people that are using Zoom all the time for work now.
Yeah.
And I'm like, how are they running a very nice camera on their meetings? And why is there no latency at all? Like, this is like, everything's perfect. And I'm way more techie than this guy. Like, how is he doing it? And I'm not. Guy's using Windows and he doesn't even know it. He's just like, oh yeah, plug it in and it works.
Yeah. And like forever, I felt that way about Mac. It's like, oh, you have to plug in a driver. You have to load a CD. Like, I just plug a camera in and it just recognizes it. I just plug a printer in and I'm good to go. But then it's like, oh, you want to use software? Well, not really. Not really going to work on this.
Not today.
Yeah. Dude, I had the same thing when it came to using the DSLR, but the battery life was an issue. So I pretty much hit up Amazon and found whatever battery plug-in thing adapter would just go right into my camera. Is that the same that you're using too? For like
right
unlimited
now,
power.
Yeah, like right now, so my DSLR, I have some Canons. I tried those out and I liked them. They were like very awesome looking. And then this past tax purposes, right after Christmas, I decided to pull the trigger on a Sony A7 III.
Ooh,
and
nice.
I was like, you know what? I'm going to do this and, you know, taxes will be good. And so I did that. And then I plugged the Sony into the Cam Link and it's like 4K. It's unbelievable. Like, I don't even know that I want people to see my face this crystal clear. It's like not even real life.
Dude, I recorded a video. I don't know. I probably took it down because I had a lot of test videos that I put up on my YouTube. And I showed like my buddy at work and he was like, dude, you can see the little stubble on your facial hair. Like, it's super crisp. I'm like, yeah, I mean, that's a DSLR right there. Because I had a couple cameras just
What
sitting
camera
around.
are you using?
I have a Nikon D7500. Or no, D7500.
Nice. Yeah.
I was thinking about going. No, it's the D500. Sorry. It was pretty much the what is it, the smaller sensor, but it was like the best you can get because of the frame rate and all that stuff at the time. I was like on the fence. Do I want to go full frame or do I want to go crop sensor? And it was either the D500 or the D750. So I ended up just going D500. And if I could do it again, I would have went full frame. But I had a couple cameras just lying around the house. I have like an old Canon Vixia, just
nice
camcorder that I was like, you know, I still have this thing. Maybe I'll try that and see how it works. It's terrible. It's terrible in low light conditions. Even though it's like shoots in 1080p, it looks really muddy. And then I had I still have a Sony RX 100 Mark V.
Oh, nice.
And I was like, well, I'll try this one. And that one's like super nice. The autofocus is great, but it's just too wide. And I record in my garage and it's like, I don't want everyone seeing like what I got going on in this garage. So I needed something a little tighter. Yeah. And I mean, I even tried a GoPro. That was like the wrong direction to go. That was even wider. And being a part of the big boy club. That's what I use
at my studio.
Yeah.
I use a GoPro at my studio and, you know, for just the purposes of recording it to video. I just have like that one angle at the end of my table that catches everything. And I'm just like, being a video guy, it pains me to like not have like a serious video
setup, like a two.
setup.
Would you do like a 2 or 3 camera setup if you could have your way?
If I could have my way, it would be a 3 camera. I would just have that one at the end of the table to catch both of us, one on me, one on them. And it's just like, do I want to invest in the cameras to like do this? I have the cameras to do it. So maybe it's just me carting equipment back and forth from the studio to my house. But then it's like, I have to set up like a switcher. Now, do I want to just, do I want to take myself out of the conversation and set some of my focus on like hitting these buttons? Like, hey, every time he talks, I have to hit camera 2. If I start talking, I have to hit camera 1, and then do I hire an intern? I don't know. I do these things on like Thursday afternoons. So like, who the hell's available on Thursday afternoon? You know what I mean? So it's just like, and do I want to add to my editing process?
Exactly.
Like, I don't want to sit here and go through an hour-long episode and make camera cuts and all that stuff. So I don't know. I think I'm kind of just like happy with audio at this point and just like a catch-all GoPro angle down there. Maybe I'll switch that camera out at some point just to like make it nicer. But
yeah, I have the I tried having the camera on myself, but I don't really make eye contact with the camera as well as I should. So I even tried off to like camera left, but that didn't really work either, because it was like, well, who am I? Like, am I like in a documentary? Am I being interviewed here? So it was kind of a weird angle. And so right now I like the Rodecaster's little digital screen setup. So I just have the camera focused on that, and we're just watching the sound audio bars just bouncing up and down as we talk.
Nice. Yeah, that's awesome.
I figured that's probably a pretty good angle. And I mean, if people really like it and it, sky's the limit, then maybe we include another camera, or we have a guest camera and stuff like that. But I'm in the same boat with you when it comes to the editing process. I've got to have it like as streamlined as possible. Working in blue collar as a machinist, it's all about just like making the most out of your time, because
man,
it's a production.
Yeah, I used to work in a machine shop. My dad has a machine shop.
Oh, really?
And he, he's like second in command there. So he hired me when I was like out of high school. And it was one of those things where it was like, all right, now you're gonna learn, how to work hard and all this stuff. And it was just like, I got it 10 times worse because it was my dad was one of the bosses there. So it was like, there would be guys who, be leaving at 2:00 in the afternoon or something, like shifts over. And my dad's like, nah, you're staying till 4. And I'm like, oh, Jesus. But yeah, man, I mean, like that life's tough, because I mean, we would work 10-hour days, like 6 days a week. So it was, whatever free time I had back then, I was like really using every ounce of it to do something. But, it is what it is, man. It's like a side hustle. And that's what I was doing for the longest time before I owned my company. It was just like going to work. I was driving down to Pittsburgh every day, getting stuck in traffic, working, 8.5, 9 hours, then driving home.
Jeez.
And by the time I got home, man, I was like trying to make this YouTube thing work.
Yeah.
And I'm like sitting there shooting, editing, YouTube videos until 2, 3 in the morning. And then I have to get up at 7 to, shower and get ready to go back to work.
Well, that's what drives a lot of people's passions too, is what you're willing to do for free, pretty much. I mean, here you are, you're like making money doing something that you really didn't prefer. And then you're coming home and hustling and working harder than you probably ever did in that 8.5 hours in a smaller chunk of time for something that you were passionate about.
Absolutely. I was definitely working harder for my own stuff.
And that's
no doubt about that.
That's a thing too. Like I feel like there are some people that, because I was talking with my buddy on Discord and he was saying how webcams were like all sold out online. Probably with this stay at home order, there's probably going to be a huge influx of people trying to jump on the gaming train.
Oh God, yeah.
And stream video games. So they need a webcam for themselves. Even podcasting, we're probably going to see a huge flood of people coming out. Like, I have a podcast now, which I think is great. I don't have like no ill will to anybody who wants to jump into any type of creative field. I feel like there's room for all of us. And so, but there'll be a lot more people coming out to do that. So who knows, microphone sales might be booming and Rodecaster Pros might be booming. And
dude, it's wild. I mean, like, I'm trying to, now that, you know, there's more time available, you know, with all of my client work kind of taking a back seat right now.
Yeah.
It's, you know, I'm really kind of trying to like pump out podcasts and like, you know, I kind of lost my kind of like my want to keep up with YouTube and stuff. And I'm thinking like, you know what? Next week, I've got some free time. I'm gonna pop on. I'm gonna make a YouTube video real quick, and I think like the whole thing is, you know, I teach beginners, so that was like my thing. I was like, you know, why am I trying to like teach people camera tips who are on my level or know more than me? You know what I mean? Like that. I'm not making these videos for these people. I'm making them for the people that want to start a YouTube channel, who are like hesitant about, you know, starting a channel or doing something. So it's like what I'm telling people right now is just like double down on creating content, because if there was ever a time ever in the entire world to do it, it's right now.
Exactly.
Like,
dude, and there's a lot of people that are probably really hesitant, even looking at, say, your setup and think, gosh, that's what I need to make a podcast. And I mean, in all honesty, it's like you can just use the microphone on your phone to make one.
Absolutely.
There's so many podcasts out there that range in quality too, that are pumping out episodes. Like you might have an episode, someone who's making a podcast that records in their car while they're driving with like a headset. And you hear the road noise and you hear everything. It's not even like studio quality sound, but they're still making content.
Absolutely. I mean, you've got to. You're gonna go crazy if you're not like doing something to help the time pass. It's just like, you know, and you don't need a setup, anything like mine or anything like you know, guys who have multi-million-dollar studios or something like that. It's just, you know, when I was decided that I wanted to be anchored in one spot, then I was like, you know what, I'm going to take this more seriously. And in turn, because I was using it as a marketing, you know, move from my business, I was like, well, then these people are going to take me more seriously also.
Yeah.
And then, you know, it kind of snowballed, and I was like, well, the more professional this all looks, the more professional they think it is, and they want to do business with me. So, you know, it kind of went that route, and you know, it's cool because I'm definitely like, you know, in talks with people to sell, you know, ads in the beginning of the podcast. So, you know, even if these people don't want to necessarily pull the trigger on like, you know, a $6,000 or $10,000 video, then maybe they want to, you know, pull the trigger on like, hey, you know, I'm going to advertise on this dude's podcast because it's hitting a lot of people, you know, for a couple $100 a month or something like that.
Especially local people.
Absolutely. So if it's like, you know, you're listening to the show, you're in your car and you're like, okay, I'm listening to this local thing. And then all of a sudden you're like, oh, hey, here's an ad for the stereo shop in downtown Greensburg. And it's like, oh, well, Yeah, I know who those people are. It's just like people get real excited about, hearing things that they know. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's real wild.
Dude, I like that, man. Well,
Definitely.
unfortunately, I got to cut this podcast short. Where I host my episodes, they
Yeah.
they don't allow me to go too long. I don't know how these big timers are doing it with the 3-hour, 4-hour episodes, but
Yeah, I don't know, man. Yeah.
but yeah, man, I want to thank you for taking the time to talk to me. And
Right on, dude. Thanks for having me on, man. I appreciate it. It's nice to be in the guest seat every once in a while.
I know you sort of get to sit and just like, I don't know, like there's a lot of thinking that goes on when you're the host.
Oh my God, yeah. You got to steer the whole ship.
Yeah, you got to monitor levels. You got to do. It's just, yeah, there's a lot. So I'm gonna end the stream and then I'll end the episode, but don't hang up just yet. So
All right. Gotcha.
all right, man. Thank you for taking the time. And for those of you who are still listening, thank you for taking the time to listen to this. Be sure to give it a thumbs up and a like, and to check out the area code again. It's cut off on my image.
It's the local 724 podcast. You can check it out. It's on iTunes, but you can check it out on our website. It's the local724.com.
Awesome, man. Thank you again.
Thanks a lot, dude.
Right on, man. Cool.
Oh yeah.